Marguerite Quinn. I'm the state representative for Pennsylvania's 143rd Legislative District, serving Central and parts of Upper Bucks County. Welcome to my 12th annual Senior Expo. I'm really excited about this. We have such wonderful vendors bringing information that's sometimes life-saving information, but certainly hassle-reducing information to those I serve, particularly the senior population and their caregivers. Though you're not here with me in person, I hope that you'll follow up with my office, learn information with regards to how to get your senior SEPTA pass, regards to services that the Bucks County Area Agency on Aging offers for free to seniors, services like a prize that help you with those complicated Medicare decisions, services like legal aid, free legal aid services for seniors. If you look behind me, you'll see a lot of the buzz going on here. Please be part of the buzz, call my office, find out about what you missed. Here's some of the information that I was able to pass along today, as well as some important information from our district attorney. I'm Marguerite Quinn. I'm your state representative. Welcome to my 12th Senior Expo at this center. This is a legislative event. It's not a political event. We're really privileged today to have with us Bucks County's district attorney. Matt Weintraub has been serving the county and literally keeping us safe on so many different fronts for the last 2 or 3 years. Matt has been instrumental in working with me in the passage of legislation that's, I read an article today that's been deemed historic. We'll talk about that later on, but I just want to publicly thank him for the work on that bill and other initiatives that I have. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you, Marguerite. Good morning, everybody. I have, I think, about 15 minutes, and I have a lot of material, so hopefully I can get through, and you'll come away with 1 or 2 very important, helpful hints. The first thing that I want to say, we not only have a responsibility to protect ourselves, we have a responsibility to protect our loved ones and the community. And one of the things that we do the best at here in Bucks County, and I am not exaggerating, is our drug take-back, our medication take-back. We here in Bucks County know that when you get a prescription or even an over-the-counter drug and you're done with it, you don't save it for a rainy day, you don't give it to your friends or your neighbors or your loved ones if they need it. You got to get rid of it. And in the past, we thought being responsible meant we would flush it down the toilet or throw it in the trash. But we know because of what's going on down the road on 611 there that our groundwater can get affected too by poisons and toxins. So we don't want to do that either. What you want to do is grab those old expired unused medications and bring them to the corner back there where we have a collection site, or you bring them right to your township buildings. Most of the police departments in Bucks County have a collection box. We here in Bucks County have collected over 107,000, not a misprint, pounds of old expired unused medications that can never hurt or kill anyone ever again. We are #1 in the state, like the Eagles, #1 in the state, and I don't want to relinquish that. So please continue doing what you're doing. But I want to shift gears a little bit. Who here has ever had their identity stolen? I have. It's pretty common. It's pretty common. What happens is somebody, somehow, they get a hold of your credit card information and they're off to the races. Next thing you know, they're booking hotel rooms in Germany while you're right here in Doylestown. But I am going to give you just a couple of very, very basic rules of the road, if you will. So, does everybody here have a cell phone? Yes. Okay, great. Everybody here knows what caller ID is. It's where the person's name appears up there. Well, that's the good news, because you usually can tell who it is that's calling you. There's a scam out there, and it's called spoofing. What spoofing does, and I get these calls too, it'll have a phone number appear on your caller ID, and it will make it look like a local area. I see you saying it before me. It'll make it look like a local area. Now, it won't have a name that you recognize, and that's the key here. So this is the easiest thing that I'm telling you. This is the first and easiest, and the second one is almost as easy. If you get a phone call from a number that you don't recognize and the name doesn't come up on your caller ID, it's not your nephew Joey, don't answer the phone. That's number one. Don't answer the phone. Let it go to voicemail, okay? Then you can decide whether you want to return the call. Because if somebody really loves you, they really want to get a hold of you, they will leave a message. The next one, and this is if you come away with 2 rules, this is the second very important one. How many people here still use email? I use email. Okay, great. How many people here use a computer? All right. And your phones are little mini computers. So these crooks are so intelligent. What they now will do is they'll send you an email, and the email will look like it's from your bank. The email will look like it's from the IRS. It will look like it's a very, very official looking email. And it will ask you to respond on email. This is the rule. Don't answer the email. If your bank or the IRS or somebody that's important needs to get a hold of you, what I want you to do is look up the phone number yourself. Never call the phone number that's on the email. Look up the phone number yourself for the IRS, which is a real easy number, or your bank, or wherever these people are trying to get a hold of you, and you call them and say, hey, you trying to get a hold of me? Usually they'll say no, because those emails are a scam. Here's the other thing. Some people believe that, oh, I just want to see it, I'm curious. Well, curiosity killed the cat, and it can really damage your finances too. If you click on an email or you click on a website that's not trustworthy, you can bring a virus. You can allow the bad guys into your computer or your phone. Don't click on those untrustworthy emails. And I'm going to give you another little clue here. So don't answer the phone. Don't answer unfamiliar emails. That's 2. And if you want to know if a website is legitimate or not, there's a way to tell. There's 2 ways. If you look all the way up at the top where the web address is, you're going to see it's going to look like an icon. It's going to look like a little padlock. If there's a little padlock in that web address, all the way at the top, a little padlock at the upper left-hand corner, you're good to go. That means it's secure. Some of the scams that we have going right now, I'm just going to touch on a couple of the scams, and these come up every year, and I'm going to explain why they're effective. So we have the one from the IRS, and I've already explained to you in general, but the IRS will say they'll either call you or they'll send you an email, and they'll say, you didn't pay your taxes. We're sending somebody out to arrest you. They will never contact you over email or over the phone, never, the IRS. They will always send you a letter. They're old school. They're old school. So if they tell you that there is a warrant out for your arrest, that's not accurate, okay? That's the IRS scam. The next scam that I want to talk to you about, and this is really terrible, is you will get a call, sometimes an email, but usually it's a call, and it'll sound like it's pretending to be your grandson or your granddaughter or their friend, and it'll say they're locked up and they need bail money immediately, and they're going to ask you to wire it via Western Union. Well, first of all, you won't get the call because you're not going to answer this phone call, right? This is a test. Okay, you're not going to answer the call. But if you did answer the call, they are phishing, P-H-I-S-H. Fish, it's a new word. It's actually a rock group too, but it's a new word. And what they're trying to do is they're betting, so I'm just going to take a shot here. Anybody here have a grandson named Jim? Anybody? Anybody? I got one right in the front row. So what they do, they call 500 people. You're one of them. They're going to say, Grandma, it's Jim. I'm locked up. Now, for everybody else, you can be like, I don't know any, Jim. But you may say, oh my gosh, Jimmy, what's going on? They got you on the hook. So what they do is they throw out 500 hooks like this till they hit on somebody whose name they happen to get right, and then they're off to the races. And what they're going to ask you for is for you to send wire money, Western Union. Never do it immediately. Report it to me, to the Bucks County DA's office, or to your local police. You never want to take the bait. If you don't take the bait, they can't catch you as a fish. That's the whole point of this thing.
Thank you very much, District Attorney Matt Weintraub. And I just said, are you off to get a bad guy? And he said, that's exactly what I'm doing. So be safe, Godspeed, and thank you to all of your detectives for the fine work that they do on our behalf. I want to give you a little bit of information about what's been going on in Harrisburg. You very well may have read that we were on break all summer. I came back this week to a number of emails saying, hope you enjoyed your vacation. Now you're back. Yeah, well, I restrained myself from putting some snarky comments back about my vacation because my office has not taken a break, and nor have I. And we're happy to be there constantly of service. And I want to thank every one of you who've stopped me to recognize the work and the kindness that my office, and I'm saying Diane and Kira, who are here. There's Diane, give me a wave. And Kira, we run a really tight ship, a lean ship for the 65,000 constituents that we serve. And it's the smile that they give, and you feel it on the other side of the phone, that just makes me look good. So I thank them. We passed a budget this year in June. It was on time. It was bipartisan, all that stuff, huh? And it was a budget that was within all of the spending mechanisms that make it, that show that we respected the rate of inflation and we kept our spending within that rate. We got a $32.7 billion budget. That's a billion. That's not M's. You know, it's staggering to think of all of that, but through that budget, we have, I think it's 38% of that budget. It might have been 39. 38% goes right into our education. That's K through 12, that's pre-K, K through 12, career and technical, community colleges, our state universities, and our state relateds like Pitt and Penn State. So we put a lot of money in there. Anyone want to guess what the second biggest chunk out of the pie is in our budget? It's seniors, but it's wrapped in under the whole human services budget. So it's seniors, it's those with intellectual disabilities, it's those who are in a vulnerable position in their life and they need some help from the state. That's our second biggest part in the budget. We got some decent money going in for corrections, so many different line items. But one of the things that really hit me this year as we were doing the budget, and I want to add that I'm on the Appropriations Committee. I've now been on it for 4 years. And that's the committee that through all fiscal issues for the state come through. So it's a pretty big deal. And it's, as the only member on that from Bucks County, I take it pretty seriously. You know, we're often looked at as a district that is rich. And if you've been here before, you've heard me say that I'm quick to say out there in Harrisburg, we're not named Bucks County because we all have bucks, you know? It's about the deer, and anyone who, you know, is trying to keep their hostas and tulips alive, you know darn well that those deer are alive and well and in high number. But it is important, as the only one from Bucks County on that committee, to make sure that we're getting our fair share back. Bucks County is one of the 5 collar counties here in the Southeast. Bucks, Chester, Delaware, Philadelphia, and Montgomery County. And we basically, through our tax efforts, we bring in 40% of the Commonwealth's revenue. 40% out of that area. Anyone know how many counties we have in Pennsylvania? 67. We have 67 counties, 5 of them bringing in 40%. I bring that up because we really try to stand up for ourselves, and I recognize that someone who might be the representative, for example, of Elk County, that you can't get tax money out of trees and out of deer, not even a raccoon. But I still think that as we are looking at funding for our schools, for our senior services, for our mass transit agencies, that it's, you know, I just pledge to you that I've been there trying to get it back, being mindful of other areas, but you know, you guys reach down in your pocket pretty deep for all of this, and for that I thank you, and I want to know that I've been there safeguarding. As I move on to anything else, does anybody have any questions regarding the state budget? What I do want to tell you is that state budget is about 500 line items. 500 line items on that budget, and when we come to vote on it, we get not 500 votes, we get 1 vote on the entire document. So what we, Republicans, Democrats, all of us have to do is just really be retrospective and say, is this budget, does the good outweigh the bad? And this time we had well over 150 out of 203 yes votes on that budget. It was very clear that we put together a sound document. I just mentioned mass transit. Sadly, when I get to Harrisburg, many of my colleagues think of mass transit being SEPTA and SEPTA only. They fail to realize that mass transit funding does things like our DART bus. A couple years ago, that DART bus was going to be going away, and we really leaned in, Chuck McElhenney and myself, to get that to stay here because we recognize in Doylestown Borough and the surrounding areas, that's the sole source of transportation for many people. But every one of the districts, out of all those 67 counties and all the 203 of us, every one of them is getting some money out of mass transit. But SEPTA is a lifeline for these communities. And by the way, here's my commercial. Down this hall on the other end is your SEPTA is there for their SEPTA Senior Pass. If you do not have a SEPTA Senior Pass, I suggest you get one. Costs you nothing to get. Once you have it, you could go down and back along the R5 or the Warminster, any of those lines for free. It could take you straight to the airport, straight to anything that you want to get to. While I'm speaking transportation, we've got Bucks County Transport as one of our booths in the back. Those people know it. Bucks County Transport is a shared ride service that many of you, too many, are not aware of. It's a service that you can use, but you have to register in advance for it. You can't register in advance unless you're already signed up and in their system. But they will pick you up, take you, you'll make some friends in that van, but they'll take you to your Center City doctor's appointment or things like that that you may want to, they'll tell you more about it, but it's really an awesome service. Sign up. How many of you, this is not hands up, this is just for you to contemplate, how many of you have life insurance policies? No hands up, just think of it. How many of you have lost someone and not known whether or not there are life insurance policies out there for that person? I look around this room and I think that there are some of you, just given some of the white and gray that I see, that may have been in jobs right out of school, right out of the armed forces, and that job offered you a life insurance policy. And you just kind of tucked it away. That's when some benefits were a lot better than they are now. I found after my father's death that we didn't know. I mean, and Dad, it turns out he had stuff in a safe deposit box, but we were so taken off guard we didn't even know where to look. But I was able to get signed into law by Governor Wolf a bill this June that says that any company that has any life insurance policies on their books in Pennsylvania, so it could go back to 1920 if that person's still alive, any of those companies need to set up a database, okay, so that when my dad had passed, or anyone that you know has passed, and you're not sure if there's a policy out there, you can contact the Pennsylvania Department of Insurance and you can ask them to query. They will put out emails to all companies with life insurance policies in Pennsylvania, and they will get back to you whether or not there is a policy in place. The good news of this, you find out. The other good news is you don't find out 5 years from now. You want the money now, right? Without this, if there is a policy in place and you didn't know about it, the company didn't know about it, they didn't know that the person even died, then time could lapse, and that money, after lapse time, goes into the Pennsylvania Department of Treasury, their unclaimed property. And you hope that you've seen that you've had something there. I was really proud of that bill, and I hope that you use it. Soon after I got it passed, I got word from the Pennsylvania Department of Insurance that right here in my legislative district, somebody found a $100,000 policy. Not bad. Some other legislation that I've been working on really hard, and I've heard about it right here from our physicians in Doylestown Hospital and all around, and many of you, is legislation that would help cut through that red tape that we have called prior authorizations when it comes to insurance. You know, when you go there and they say you need a test? Well, with Medicare isn't that bad, but some of the other private insurance, it's tough. They get delays. Turns out that doctor's office right around the corner from here, right down the street, they might be dealing on any given day with 20 different with 20 different health insurance policies. And within those Blue Cross or Aetna, there's all different stratifications of the type of policies they have. So they have to look up each policy to see what test you can get, what test you can't, and go through that process. I say that's bunk. We need to standardize what those lists are. We need to make this more consumer friendly. You pay for that insurance. Let's stop putting these hurdles. Let's stop having the 20-year-old on their summer break being the one to tell you you're denied. Let's have this with the professionalism that it deserves. There is a place in this whole system for prior authorizations. We do not want unnecessary tests, but when your healthcare professional deems it's necessary, we should not get in the way of that. And I'm fighting that one pretty hard. But I did get an article sent to me today. And it was a pretty cool article because it was about a bill that I just had passed out of the House 2 days ago. And when this woman interviewed me on Wednesday, I was at my desk, I was just in off the House floor. We've heard an awful lot this year, and tragically in the last few years, more than we've ever wanted to know, about gun violence. Okay? My family, and my mom's in this room right back there. Give a wave, Mom. She didn't hear me. Okay. Hi, Mom. Okay. My family moved to Bucks County in 1972, and we moved here because my father liked to hunt. I grew up in a home that had hunting guns. I was sent to Bucks County Fish and Game to take a hunter's safety course so that I knew how to respect guns in the house. Okay? I respect the Second Amendment, but I also believe, and this is what my bill did, I believe that if you've given up your right, and if you have a conviction against you for domestic violence, that you need to turn your guns in. And right now, present law is that if you have a conviction, I'm talking a conviction, that's all after due process, our whole judicial system. Present law is if you have a conviction against you for a misdemeanor crime of domestic violence, anyone want to guess how many days you have to turn on your gun in present law? 60 days under present law to turn your guns in. Now, if that was your daughter who was scared to death for her life and for her children, and somebody was convicted, would you like to know that those guns are still in that person's? If that was your son, would you like to know that those guns are still in the possession of the person that he or she assaulted? No. Common sense means get those guns in off the streets, get those guns away from the person who has that rage that's peakened by the intimacy of a partner, spouse, or child-parent relationship. So this bill will address that. This bill will address when there's a final PFA, protection from abuse order. This bill will address that you can no longer say, hey buddy, my next door neighbor, Ralph, The judge told me I got to give up my guns, but do you mind holding them? I could turn him into the sheriff, or I could turn him... Would you hold him for me? Yeah, well, guess what happens if I really want my guns and I see Ralph's car not in the driveway? You're going back for them. We've just had these incidents. Last week in Chester County, we had a death, tragic death. And I was just told by someone here today that there was a death in Tinicum. Tinicum by the airport, not my Tinicum by this river, just last night. The Second Amendment, God bless it. But if people have, but with that Second Amendment come responsibilities. With that right come responsibilities. And this bill, what it means by being historic, is that it took some recognition that we can and we should make sure that the guns should not be in the hands of someone who has given up their right. This is after due process. And what I found is that many people don't know what's in the underlying law. If you have never been subject to a PFA, protection from abuse, if you've not been on the plaintiff or the defendant side, why would you know the law? You know? How many of you know all the laws about, you know, the degrees of murder and all that? You don't. So when they come out and say Quinn's trying to do this, they're blaming me for existing law for 25 years that never bothered them before this. So I'm proud of this. It is my hope that this is taken up by the Senate next week, because it is about time that we start to take care of those people who, when they're scared to death, come forward and ask for help. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me today at my 12th Senior Expo. I hope you've been able to pick up some information that was needed. You get your senior SEPTA pass, sign up for Bucks County Transport, visit the Consumer Protection, Doylestown Health, all these wonderful vendors/services that we have here. It's been a privilege and a pleasure for 12 years to present this important event to you. Thank you for your participation. I found a new friend here today. Actually, I met him at the Senior Center when I was popped in August. But I'd like to introduce you to Robert Reeder. Robert?
Robert, that's me. Robert Whiter.
So when I met Robert, he told me that he served in World War II, and I thanked him for his service. And he sincerely looked at me and he said, well, don't thank me yet. I served for the German army.
That's right. That was the wrong side, the other side.
He was on the other side, and he actually got captured. How many American POW camps were you in?
4.
For how long?
For 4 months.
4 different camps?
4 different camps in 4 months.
Wow. So after that, he actually came back to the United States after the war.
United States, yeah.
And what did you do when you came back to the United States?
I wound up in the Marine Corps.
So Robert joined the United States Marine Corps, and then he fought valiantly in the Korean War. And you saw some action there, didn't you?
No, I've never. I was always here in this country.
Okay.
I was stationed in Norfolk, Virginia, and that's where I stayed.
Well, we thank you for your service to our country. We thank you for being a wonderful American citizen, father, grandfather, great-grandfather, stepfather, step-great-grandfather. You got it all. Thanks, Robert.
Got it all.